2, 3.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog. I'm stronger than you think, I can do this on my own. There's a difference between loneliness and doing this alone.
This is CGC Presents DC Music Rocks. We are highlighting the sound of the DMV, one conversation at a time. I'm Jarreau Williams, your host for this episode, and I am so excited to have our next guest here. You look at their bio and you look at their logo and you're like, wait, is that Wonder Woman? No, but they are a superhero duo, just bringing sounds and vibes and all of that. It's a harmony-driven cinematic pop duo formed by Eli and Megan Leigh. And they released their debut single, Icarus Rising, a little while ago. And even though 2020 has, not allowed them to really get out on the live scene, they've been hitting the ground running and building their worldwide community online through private, invitation-only live shows. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Eli and Megan, better known as Wild Whispers. How are you guys doing today?
Wow,
what an intro. Thanks, Jarreau.
Hey, you all deserve a top-notch intro. I try to do the best I can.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you on. So, there are obviously some things that I know about the two of you just from performing with you, from, just kind of being in the scene. But again, this is for the entire DMV and worldwide for people who may not already know about you. So I want to break the ice as I do with every show that I put on or every show that I host. And we're going to play a game of favorites. All right. So the way this works, just so for people who haven't listened to these episodes before, I'm going to ask Eli and Megan what their favorite things are. And it could just be something totally random. And we just want to get to know a little bit more about them. All right. Are you two ready?
Yeah, ready.
All right. So I kind of gave them this before we went live. So I'll just go ahead and throw them a little curveball in there. Just throw them a little four-seamer right down the middle. Favorite ice cream?
Chocolate mint chip.
We just found like a 4-layer caramel truffle ice cream.
Yeah, Talenti.
That Talenti does, and you just keep going, and it's just amazing. And
layer.
That lasted like 2 nights. So that was my favorite, but I hope it doesn't show up again here anytime soon, or else it'll be gone in less time.
The never-ending layers of ice cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, I've heard great things about Talenti. I can't lie about that. All right, so favorite thing to do on your day off?
Lately for me, that's been just reading. I'm like super into reading now. I'm reading Assassin's Creed right now, based off of the video game. So it's really interesting.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Day off is actually like playing guitar. Isn't that weird?
Not weird at all.
I'm trying to just get back to just, the love of music as play and as just kind of jamming out. So always like, it's really easy to take it seriously, obviously, if it's your job, but it's also this game. So hopefully on my time off, we've just been doing some music lately, which has been nice.
Yeah, that's a cool way to do it. I mean, for us as musicians, it's like, do we ever have a quote unquote day off? But, I have to ask these things. We all have things we like to do for fun. And even if that's doing what we love and doing it for fun. So cool. Thank you for that. All right. Favorite musician?
Oh, wow.
I know so many
tough
choices.
One.
Yeah, Megan Leigh. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she just has her next single coming out. I've heard it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a really special song. I think the world's gonna love it. So right now, that's my favorite.
Wow, she sounds great.
She's pretty rad. Check her out.
I think we both know her. I've heard of her before.
Oh man. Yeah, and this Eli Lev guy, don't know if you've heard of him, but he's got like 3 albums and he's about to put out the 4th one next year. So I hear.
Are we both our favorite musicians? Is that weird or is that cool? I'm not sure.
This is what we do on the podcast, y'all. We serve it up. We serve 4-seam fastballs and they knock it out of the park every time. leading through. But with that, so I'm gonna take it one step further. So, obviously favorite musicians, but favorite band.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard. Favorite band. All right, I'll get back to you in an hour once I figure out.
So my favorite band is actually someone that Megan introduced me to.
Who?
Don't know?
The Arcadian Wild?
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say.
They are incredible.
Yeah,
they are
they're
like
insane.
a symphonic folk band with mandolin, guitar, and violin
Violin now.
and
Used to be
stand-up
banjo.
bass.
Mm-hmm.
They just came out with like a 4-part like song and music video experience. And they're epic. Like I listen to the music and I don't understand it, like as a musician. So
Yeah,
it's that intense.
They're
so,
hardcore composers.
Yeah. Arcadian Wild.
The Arcadian Wild, yeah.
The Arcadian Wild. They're awesome.
All right,
They're
we'll definitely go
fantastic.
check
They're
them out.
out of Nashville.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for introducing us to who you both are in terms of your favorites, even if that is each other. That's a good thing. It's a good thing when you're in a duo.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Hey, when you're in a duo,
helpful.
you need that
probably a good
compatibility. You need that cohesion. So we love that. We
thing.
can't complain about that. So
Great.
Eli and Megan, now we're going to talk a little bit more about how Wild Whispers came to be. But before all that, I kind of want to get the story behind that. So pretty much who you both are that sort of led to becoming Wild Whispers. So ladies first, Megan, I want to definitely start with you there. Tell us a little bit about yourself and, kind of how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess it's kind of a long story, but to make it shorter, I've always been singing my whole life. So it's always been sort of like a thing for me. And I grew up singing in lots of choirs. I sang in the church as I grew up. That was mostly where I did my singing. And then until I got into like middle school and high school with choirs, and college, I sang in a couple of a cappella chamber choirs. And it's been one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And if I don't do anything else with the rest of my life, I definitely want to do that again. More a cappella choir singing. But yeah, so it kind of, music's always been very centric in my life. And I started getting into the local scenes a couple of years ago. It seems like a long time ago, but really I guess it's only been a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, everyone was super welcoming, and I had never thought about music as a career until a couple of years ago. I actually was for sure that I was never going to do that, because I was like, I see a lot of people, and at the time, I was kind of in college, and I saw all of these music students getting all burnt out, and I was like, I don't want to do that to myself, I don't want to do this as a career and put that kind of pressure on myself with music. So I had never really thought about it, but I guess getting into the scenes, DC and Baltimore mostly, and Northern Virginia, was kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world as far as independent musicians go. And I started meeting amazing people like you, Jarreau, and Eli, and so many other awesome humans who were making it work. And so, I just decided last year to take the big leap, and I have been doing full-time music now for a year and a half. And it's really interesting that I had to shift as much as I did in the first year of my career with COVID and everything. But it's been a really great experience. And so within that time, Wild Whispers happened. So I guess Eli and I have been singing together for 2.5 years now, which is crazy. but yeah, so and I have my solo stuff, which I just put out my first solo song in July this year in this space. And yeah, my next song is coming out tomorrow, so that's exciting. Symphony. Celebrate. But yeah, so that's my story. Pretty much in a nutshell.
This is great. Yeah. So Eli, you've been and Megan, before I get into that, like, you know, it's been pretty cool to sort of follow what you've been doing and how you've been getting there, because I remember personally, like, you know, us having that conversation before you took that leap and kind of what was the move you needed to make. So to really see you kind of putting yourself out there and making those big moves is really inspiring to see. So Eli, you've been the world traveler, man. So
Yeah.
you know, not just here locally, but also across the US and abroad as well. So, you know, tell us a little bit about your story and kind of how you got to this point today.
Yeah, so my music experience isn't as illustrious as Megan Leigh's.
I would not say that it isn't.
We went back to her to Pitt, your college, and saw that choral group that she sang in. It was just like, what? This is amazing. Yeah. I just, you know, got through a few years of piano before I hated it and quit. Took like a year of guitar, and that was it. And was in some like grunge middle school bands and a random cover band in Europe. So it was quite a mess, my musical journey, and just playing silly songs. In Israel, my singer name was Warblo Jenkins. And
I heard it here first.
I sang like silly songs about roller skating and one night stands and all sorts of like kind of like comical songs. So that was my jam. That didn't really take off that much. And then just traveling around the world and picking up different sounds and playing a cover band in Andorra, then playing in a jam band in college and stuff. It was always just like a fun thing that we'd do. But I took a travel guitar with me out to Mexico when I was about to graduate my graduate degree for language education. I was going to be a teacher. I was going to be a teacher's teacher. And took my travel guitar out and went to Mexico on a beach for a couple weeks, sang some songs, and was like, you know what, if there's ever time in my life to do music, now would probably be it. So let's just see what happens. Let's just try it out. So then I had the idea of creating my first EP series based on the Navajo Four Directions, Navajo Nation Four Directions, because I was a teacher out there for a few years on the res. And 4 years later, I'm on my fourth direction, True North. So that's coming out in 2021. So it's really kind of wild how I just kind of like banged my head around this musical workshop for a while until I was like, ding, and then like actually did something with it. So we've had two different paths to the same place. But Megan reached out on Instagram about 2.5 years ago. And then we had our first song here in the farmhouse. It was an Avicii cover, Wake Me Up. And you look back at that video and we were just like, so we didn't even know each other.
No, we didn't.
But
sounds like one of the first times we ever.
But our voices were like, okay, damn, this is good. How did you do that thing with the? Like it's called harmony. I was like, oh. So then we kind of just took it from there, and now here we are with the whole album about to be coming out.
Oh, so exciting!
Next year, so super exciting stuff.
It's our first.
If we could sum up everybody's journey, well, specifically you two, we say wild, and I'm glad that you said that word because that was a perfect segue into Wild Whispers. So before we go a little deeper into what I wanted to discuss with you today, Wild Whispers, what influenced that name and what made you decide like, hey, like, yes, we sound really great together as these separate entities, but now it's time for us to, let's join forces and become a duo.
Yeah. So
is that a Nashville brewery? while we were recording. We didn't even know our names or our songs before we rolled into Nashville.
We
were
didn't.
a hot mess, Jarreau. Hot mess.
Yeah, we went to Nashville to record our first tunes together last year.
Did not know our name. Did not have the songs
in September. Written. Yeah, no, we really didn't. We were still
Let's go to
we were
Nashville.
Like scrambling to write these songs during the 2 weeks that we were there recording. Hats off to our producer Ben Reno, Majestic Ape Studios in Nashville. He we were kind of like recruited for him, and it couldn't have been a better match. I mean, it was like it was kind of a miracle. To be honest.
Well, you were recruited.
Well, yeah. So one of the songwriters who works with Ben, found, I guess, a video of mine on Facebook and reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you ever want to record in Nashville, I know this awesome guy." And we were touring. We were opening Eli. And I was supporting him, was opening for Leigh for 3 shows in Tennessee. And so we just went to visit Ben in the studio, and it was just a perfect match right off the bat. In September we went 2019, I guess. And recorded the 3 songs, and we kind of just happened to do trilogies, I think. Why did we end up doing that?
Well, we had the idea of having some kind of series.
Yeah.
Like the 4 Directions, but not the 4 Directions. And we thought about shapes, and we thought about sizes and colors, and
right. It was the triangle thing.
Yeah. And we didn't want to do a whole EP, but we didn't want to just do a single. So it might've just been
let's do 3.
a functioning thing that's we don't have enough money to do 5, but we should probably do more than 1. So let's just do 3 songs, and then so our album will be 3 sets of 3 trilogies.
Wow, that's amazing. That's I mean, it kind of goes to show that no path is a perfect path, right? And it's just it can get a little messy, and I'm personally just glad to hear that there was somebody else out there who played piano for 5 minutes and quit. And now I'm picking up the piano, why didn't I learn this before?
Right.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, but it's also, I think it's very refreshing for the listeners out there just to know that, even if there's a musician listening to this podcast, knowing that, hey, we figure it out as we go. There are things that are not set in stone. Everything is not just lined up for us. We just kind of make it happen. Right.
Yeah.
And so to hear you two talk about that story specifically, I think will give people some sense of release and relief in a way to really say wow, okay. That's pretty cool how they did that. Maybe I can make this come together too. You just never know. So thank y'all for telling us that story and letting us know a little bit more about what Whispers is.
I think it's never too early. It's never too late. I started a full-time music career in my mid-30s. If Megan had started music in college, she might have gotten burned out and been I'm never going to do this ever again. I know folks who are just retired and are you know what? Now I'm going to do music, and it's going to make me happy, and this is going to be my thing.
Yeah.
So I think at whatever time it is, whatever that arrival is, that's the time. You just kind of go for it, and then trust the music, and it's done pretty well for us so far.
All right, that's a quote we're gonna hold on to. Trust in the music. So with all that, you all have come from kind of these separate worlds, and then merging here together in the DMV, and obviously, when some people think about the DMV, they think about Washington, D.C., the actual, the epicenter of the region. But you two are kind of on the outskirts in a way. Is Megan, you're in Western Maryland, with Eli being pretty much right outside that, 95 corridor in a way. So you all are still a part of the DMV connection. But sometimes I think people don't understand what fully like what all encompasses the DMV. But I wanted to ask both of you, and this is something that I've been making the circulations with, is in your minds, what makes the DMV so special?
That's a great question.
First of all, it's massive.
It's massive. There's so much
Like,
music here.
We'll do shows in Virginia. We'll do shows in the Eastern Shore. We can go up to Philly and New York on just a whim. But I mean, DMV, like Baltimore's its own thing.
Yeah.
True.
Part of Maryland.
But a lot of Baltimore folks come in and, get involved, and a lot of DC folks go over there. And, you've got Virginia Beach, Ocean City. I mean, our what is it? DMA? What do they call it? Like a metro area or something. Because of 495, because of 95, because of 66, we're able to listen to each other, which is amazing. And go to so many venues, like, I mean, Jarreau, you're one of the most well-traveled musicians in the area.
Yeah.
And who
we cover ground. I know you cover ground. I know you go out to Front Royal and just rock and then come back that night like it's nuts. But we can do it, and that's part of our culture here, is that yes, we are a community, but there's thousands and thousands of venues that we can connect with people, so that audience is so large. It's not like New York or LA where it's like we're all fighting over like one or two venues. It's like we all have our spaces, the community, and we're all able to like meet each other. So it's a really, really special place. I don't think I would have been able to come up like I did anywhere else without DC Music Rocks giving opportunities at 930 Club, without Pearl Street Warehouse, without Kennedy Center Millennium Stage, without the 9 Songwriter Series, without Capitol Groove Collective, connect with everybody. Like all these support systems for people here is it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's what I find so special about this area, is that it's, there are a ton of musicians and a ton of venues, but it's not competitive. It's like, you think of New York, like you said, and Nashville and LA, and it's like, it seems like it's more daunting there maybe to do music just because it seems more competitive. But here it's like everyone's super welcoming and everyone just wants to be part of the community, and help each other and get the word out about all the amazing music that's coming from here. So I think that's what makes it super special.
Absolutely. And building on that, you all brought up a very valuable point that I'm hearing a lot of, and when you reference to the other cities and kind of their atmospheres and communities there, do you feel like the DMV gets enough recognition?
I don't think we have the industry that
Right.
the other places have.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because there's all this space for incubation, for artists to really come up and have the attention they deserve and build their own fan bases and connect with other fan bases. But yeah, I mean, we went to Nashville because the level of just kind of like, this is what we do every day, 9 to 5 is there. So, we'll go to New York and there's, distribution over there. And, LA, we had a fun show, but it was at like this like hippie spot. So it's like, we're not really going for, like we're not like knocking on record label doors. We're like building kind of like a community from the ground up. So it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for, that deal, you're probably not going to find it, in Rockville.
No,
you know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So,
Yeah.
So, that's going to be somewhere else. But in order to get to yourself to that place, this is a great place to do that. Like Maggie Miles, she just came up through the scene in Nashville. So many people are doing so many good things. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. I don't think so. And we're still here. So we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this city the most, is that, there's, those people you named, we were all actually on the same show together. So, it's crazy to kind of, rub that magic dust on everybody and allow the community to organically build. And that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next with the both of you. And that is 2020, right? You know, we've all had to find ways to sort of veer and adapt. And, you know, we mentioned earlier when I introduced you how, you know, obviously live shows are not where they once were because of the pandemic and because of just, you know, adjusting to sort of things. But you all have really taken the approach of, like what you mentioned, Eli, like a really grassroots approach of interacting with your fans online and building the community there. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about how you all have been able to manage through 2020 and building that online community. What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah. For me, I mean, especially since I'm just starting out, that's been super, super helpful for me to kind of connect more even with myself and really get to the heart of what I'm trying to do with my music, and the purpose, my why, basically. And yeah, and knowing how much I can heal people, and knowing how much like it means when people listen to my voice or hear my songs, has, you know, become my why. And you don't know that until you connect like on a personal level with your fans, with people. So yeah, that's been super awesome for me. Just the fact that I was able to do that more because I don't know, because I had more time, because I had to shift the focus to that. And, you know, doing more online and interacting more with people all over the world. And that's another thing, like, you know, live streaming was a thing, but it wasn't quite as much of a thing until this year, when it became a necessity. So that's another thing. And I've always appreciated Facebook for like the connection it brings. Like you can talk to somebody wherever in the world you want and keep in touch with people from across the globe. And it's like, you know, being able to have that with music, and the live streaming this year has been super amazing. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's been hard and we had to change a lot of plans. Of course, we were supposed to go to Europe and do tours and everything. But to still be able to connect with people online is great. It's been really helpful for me in forming like the direction I want to go with my music. So yeah.
Yeah, I think 2020, I mean, it's terrible that, I mean, it's been a terrible year for a lot of people, just the suffering and the just death, honestly. And just, you know, our friendships have been affected and all of our kind of social fabric has been affected. But in that way, people still needed music, and maybe more than ever, through the pandemic. So it was kind of like our position as musicians and as leaders to step up and provide that in whatever way we could. And so I think both us realizing that there is a need, not just for us and our careers, but for people and for humanity going through what they're going through, for music and connection, and tapping into that and finding ways for people to connect, whether it's online through live streams or whether it's through our outdoor socially distant shows that we did when the weather was pretty good. I mean, people needed those. I mean, people are still messaging us and being like, my highlight of the year was coming to your outdoor socially distanced festival and just feeling like a human again, outdoors listening to music. And people don't realize how special that is until it's not there anymore.
It's
so
taken away.
so do we. And, you know, I'm always one that's like, I never take any live performance for granted. You know what I mean? And now I think more than ever, I think as musicians, we realize that it's a very special thing and a very important role that we play in people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the platform, right? And kind of the messages that we're sending, and you hit it, both of you hit it right on the head about people's need for this. Like you said, there's been countless people out there that no matter what's been happening in the world, they can always lean back on music. There's always a song that gets them to the emotion that they need to kind of just some days just get through, right? And that's honestly one of the qualities about your sound that I highly value. The thing with Wild Whispers, and I definitely wanted to talk about Icarus Rising, and also the other projects that you have coming down the line, which we sort of alluded to earlier, is what I notice about your sound is it has a way of being sort of this internal emotional connection that happens to be very therapeutic at the same time. And so you all describe yourselves as a harmony driven cinematic pop duo. So can you go into a little bit more depth about that in terms of, the kind of sound that you all want to deliver, and also, about Icarus Rising as well?
For sure.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to highlight the harmonies because obviously that was the thing that we figured out we should do after that one YouTube video we did over here 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And the cinematic aspect, I don't think I ever really get a chance to do that as like a folk artist or, as a singer. And Megan just has a very special ear with arranging and making these big kind of heart opening sounds. So I think we both wanted to explore that a little bit. And then, we do kind of have that little pop edge to us as well.
Yeah. And even more so coming up with our new releases. So that's fun. But yeah, we with Wild Whispers, so we each have our solo careers, but we also wanted to be I guess a little bit more experimental with Wild Whispers, and kind of just take some risks, and it's paid off for sure. But with the two of us working together, it's kind of easier to do that, I guess, just because we trust each other, obviously, but it's just like we'll feed off of each other's energy, and like I'll be playing like certain chords, and I'll be like, ooh, what about this harmony, and like we just kind of like go off of that, and that's how our songs are formed.
Yeah, I never would have created those songs alone.
Right.
You never would have created those songs
me either.
alone.
Right, exactly.
But we only would have had that opportunity to create something like that as a duo, which is really cool.
That's the really fun part about it.
Yeah, that's the experimental part too. And plus, since it's Wild Whispers and it's like, it's not my name, it's not Megan's name, it's like we can kind of just like come a little bit back from it, you know what I mean? And just be like, wow, let's try that and see what happens. And it's a lot of fun, like you were saying with Icarus Rising. We wanted to provide songs that work on multiple levels, a very deep spiritual level, a very surface visceral level, like when that beat kicks in, and a very kind of like sonic listening level too, where it's like, okay, there's that harmony, there's that echo, and it's all kind of coming together in this big kind of like orchestration. So trying to make that opportunity for the listener to connect how they like.
Yeah.
Well, I know our listeners are going to get a chance to listen to Icarus Rising. And I know that they will definitely enjoy themselves. It's one of those tracks that you can definitely hear in a movie. Something along. It's funny because when I listened to it, it kind of reminded me of something you would see or hear in like a Christopher Nolan or a James Cameron sort of film. It just has those very key elements that you would normally hear in those type of experiences. And I'm glad that you all started talking about how the two of you make it work as a duo, because I think that is something that may not necessarily get talked about a lot. So I'm curious for the both of you, for anybody who may be listening to this that has a duo in the works or may want to start some sort of collaborative process. You two already alluded to some things that worked for you, but what advice would you give to any musicians who may be thinking about forming their own duo?
Nice. So I would say, I think, for me at least, trust is like first and foremost. So it's the same thing, you know, when you go into the studio, like you have to be able to trust that person, or whoever you're working with. And I think for me, that's pretty much the key to like going into it with an open mind and open everything, basically open heart, open mind, open soul, and just like being able to be vulnerable with somebody else. And so that would be the first step for me. Make sure you find somebody who you're compatible with, who you trust, who you can be honest with. And yeah, you know, obviously you want to find someone who has different strengths than you, right? So I have the harmony piece. Eli has the guitar piece, and he's very experimental with his guitar anyway, which has been really super important for our sound too, thus far. So, but yeah,
a lot of that just came from, I remember we were like, what instrument are you going to play? And you're like, I don't know, maybe drums. It's like, have you ever played drums before? And you're like,
nope.
No.
No.
So, but now you're like a total, you know, drummer.
I can drum and sing at the same time now.
Yeah. So, and it's cool. Like, you know, if it's our own solo project, or like, you know, or a band, you know, if it's solo, then it's like, okay, I have to like pretend that I'm the expert and I know like what is best. And if it's a band, then like you can kind of like chill out even more because everybody is kind of there. But as a duo, it's like, okay, I'm not the expert, but neither are you. So we both have to be, kind of.
Yeah.
And we both don't have to be because we're just making stuff up here. So that's been really cool. One of the biggest lessons for me is just kind of like the ability to just like try stuff, which is awesome. So like, it's not like a bad idea. Nothing's a bad idea. But like, if you have an idea, let's try it. And if it sounds great, then we can use it. And if it doesn't, then we'll just keep coming up with ideas until it does. So that's been a really cool process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank y'all for sharing that with us. And I know somebody listening to this will definitely benefit from and may pick up something along the way that they didn't think about in terms of working with a duo. So, you know, once again, we are here with Eli Lev and Megan Leigh, the dynamic duo of Wild Whispers. And I've got a couple more questions before we wrap up today. Moving forward, you know, just going into the future with Wild Whispers, you talked about a couple projects that you're working on, but yeah, just tell us what you got in the works and what's coming.
Oh, there's so much coming. It's very exciting. Yeah, so we've only released one song so far. That was Icarus Rising back in September.
A great one.
A great one.
A great one.
Yeah, a great one song. So yeah, that was the first song of our first trilogy, which we have had recorded and ready since March, I think. So we're taking our time, but 2021 is going to be a big year for us.
Yeah, we've got the next two singles from the first trilogy coming out. So it's going to be Another Side, which is already being used on a Native women's podcast, kind of highlighting the struggles of Native women. So they just kind of heard it through our producer, and it's been used on like a bunch of their episodes, which is crazy. Megan's voice comes in. She goes, "There's another side," and then the podcast starts, and it's so awesome. So
very cool.
Super excited about that. It's coming out in February.
I think February.
Yep. And then the third single is going to be I Am I. And that's kind of like a really kind of fun pop kind of vibe. And that'll be the first trilogy. And then we've already recorded our second and halfway through our third. Well, we've recorded all of our third and halfway through our second. So by the end of 2021, we'll have most of them out. So we'll have like a 9 song album, hopefully by the end of next year, which is super cool, going from 1 to 9.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's see. There was Star Wars. There was The Godfather, Lion King, if you count 1.5. So trilogies, but you know, I'm very excited as the DMV and everybody else should be for Wild Whispers, all the fun stuff, great stuff coming in 2021 and beyond. And I just want to say personally to to the both of you that I love everything that you all have been doing. I love how determined and focused the both of you have been to just get after it and just, really with the main goal of bringing great music to your audience. So just definitely keep up with that. And the last question that I wanted to ask you today is, okay, so there's somebody listening to this who is on the fence, who may be like Megan was a year and a half ago, who may be like I was 2.5 years ago, trying to figure out, is music my thing? Should I do this?
Yeah.
Should I pursue this? What piece of advice would you give to someone listening to this who is wrestling with that decision?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I would say for sure, one of the biggest things for me was networking ahead of time and seeing other artists doing it, that really like made me know that I could do it, and like talking with them, getting to know them, learning from them. And people are very willing to help. You just have to ask. It's like, and that was one of the first things I learned, and that's what kind of propelled me forward with my decision. I was like, okay, well, I see it happening, and I believe in myself, so I can do it. Now there's a point where it comes in like, am I ready for this? Probably not. No, but it's okay. Like, you don't have to be ready. Like, when are you ever really ready for something like that? But I would say, yeah, just like do the networking, surround yourself with a great community, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I would say connect with Capital Groove Collective or listen to the DC Music Rocks podcast for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, just to echo what Megan was saying, is that, surround yourself with people who are doing it. Like, go to the open mics, like take an internship in a recording studio. You know what I mean? Like, go to other people's performances and see what's happening, because through the community, through this thing that is happening still throughout the pandemic, there's all these opportunities to kind of find what your path will be through music.
Beautiful. Well, Eli, Megan, thank you all so much for being on today's episode of DC Music Rocks presented by Capital Groove Collective. We're highlighting the best and brightest in the DMV, one conversation at a time. Before we go, Wild Whispers, please let us know where we can find you. How can we connect with you?
Yeah, we have a Whispers fam.
We do.
We'd love to welcome whoever would like to connect more with us. They can go to wearewildwhispers.com. And it's just sign up there. We do our live streams through our Whisper fam. We've got free merch as a welcome gift. And we share unreleased tunes before it comes out. And we've got our own group. It's a really amazing place. Really, really loving people. And we've been pretty honored to be growing our Whisper fam this year. So wearewildwhispers.com. They can come and join us.
All right. wearewildwhispers.com. You heard it there. Also, be sure to check out their song, Icarus Rising, which is available on all streaming platforms. They've got some music coming out 2021, which we all can't wait to hear. Once again, CGC presents DC Music Rocks. I'm your host, Jarreau Williams, one of the hosts. You can tune into any of our episodes, meet all of these amazing artists from the DMV. And I guarantee that when live music returns, you will definitely want to come and check out one of these amazing artists. So for Wild Whispers, thank you all so much. I wish you the best in everything that you continue to do. And for all of you listening out there, stay safe, take care, call your mom, as Emma G says, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Jarreau.
been flying in my dreams. I've been walking through walls I can see. What's just behind my human side? It's shining like a light of a diamond sun. I've been hearing with my heart, been speaking with my soul, and I can feel the weight upon me lifting to reveal the open air. Like a phoenix I am rising with the power of the sun. We've all been told the story, never reached too far, but I'm already flying, and I know it's just the start. From the bottom of the ocean to the edge of the sky, following our wildest dreams, we fly. Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog.